This conference will now be recorded.
Let me start the session. In this video, we will see how to create iterator for custom class. Custom class means what? User defined class. Sir, what is creating iterator for user defined class? For example, we have vals equals to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Now what will be the type of vals? Vals is a object of str type. So it is an object of some predefined class called str. It is an object of some predefined class called str. All the built-in classes which are of collection type, list, tuple, set, dictionary, string, range. So these are all built-in classes. They contain internally one method called iter method. Already we discussed in the previous video also. If you didn't watch that video, I can keep that video link in the description box. You can find out and you can watch it so that you can understand very easily. All the built-in classes like list, tuple, set, dictionary, string and range, these are called as a built-in classes. And these built-in classes contains which method? Iter method. Any object contains iter method is called as iterable object. Now, what are the stream of values? 10, 20, 30 and so on. Stream of values. These values are referred by vals. So here the vals is a object to the reference representing some stream of values, and vals contains iter method, and vals is of which type? It is a iterable object. By calling next method on vals object, is there any chance to get values one after another? Let me show you. Take the Python shell. Nums equals to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. What will be the type of nums? It is a set object. Now can I call next of nums, or you may call object dot dunder method name dunder next? Anything is acceptable. If you call the method next method on the iterable object, nums is a iterable object, immediately you are going to get an error. Sir, unfortunately we don't have any method called next method in the built-in class called set. In the built-in class called as a set, we have iter method. It is okay, but we don't have any next method. Now the question is, sir, nums is referring a stream of values 10, 20, 30, 40, so on. So by calling next method on the nums, is there any chance to get values one after another? No chance. Using nums, no chance. But we can create iterator for this. How to create? Already we discussed that point. So if you could able to create iterator, if you could able to create iterator, iterator itself contains two methods. Every iterator contains next method and also iter method. By using next method on the iterator object, we can fetch the values from that collection type. From the beginning to the end, we can get values one after another. So iterator is an object contains both next method and iter method. Now, you know, my intention is I want to know whether object of our own class. I created one class. I don't know what to write inside the body. I'm going to create one object called student object. Now, if I call iter method on S1, it will raise some error. Hello, boss. What are you thinking? In this class, we didn't find any method called iter method. There is no iter method. Student object is not iterable. When could I say student object is iterable? When within the student class, if you write iter, if you write any method called iter method, then it is iterable. For example, let us modify the definition of the class. Def underscore iter self. Sir, inside this what to write? I don't know. Okay, no problem. Now S1 equals to student, normal object I created. From this, by calling iter method, can I have any iter method? Can I have any iter method? Yes, we have iter method. Whether we are going to get any output or no output or error, observe very carefully. What is saying that iter method returned non-iterator of the type none type. You may not understand right now what is the meaning. What is the meaning? Inside the body, we have to add one line of code that we didn't mention that. That is the reason we are going to get this type of error. That is the reason we are going to get this type of error. But you have to understand what is that. If any object contains iter method, if any object contains iter method, that object is a iterable object. Iterable object. So now we made our class, custom class means our own created class as a iterable. But I don't want iterable object. I want to make it as a iterator. I want to make it as a iterator. I want to make it as a iterator. If you want to make object of our own class as a iterator, it must contains two methods. We discussed several times the same point. It should must contain iter method, and also it must contain next method, boss. But student contain only iter method. If you define even next method also, then our object of our own class, custom class also can act as a iterator. Can act as a iterator. Object of our own class, also can act as a iterator. What is the reason? If you define iter method and also next method, then automatically according to the iterator protocol, whatever the object contains both the methods, then we should treat like a iterator object. Sir, what is the benefit of making object of our own class as a iterator? Like you may get a doubt. Suppose S object is referring stream of student object, student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4. Assume S object is an object of the student type. and this object is currently referring so many student objects. Assume like that. So many student objects, assume like that. Now, if I write a for loop for s in s objects, for s in s objects, then you should know very clearly how for loop is implemented in the background, what will happen. Even that story also we covered very clearly in the previous video, how for loop is implemented in Python. If you didn't watch that video, I will leave it in the description, then you can find and you can watch that video also. So for s in s objects, first it will check, for loop will check, is there any possibility to generate iterator from this or not? Is there any possibility to generate iterator from this object or not? Why not? Happily, because it contains iter method. Iter method will return iterator object. Then whether it contains a next method or not, it will verify. So if I develop even next method also in the student class, then automatically from the collection of the students, it is going to return student objects one after another, or anything you can get one after another. Now, so I want to implement this case. I want to create iterator for our custom class. So one simple example I can take, new file, iterator for custom class, class 1 to 10. I want to print 1 to 10 numbers. So I don't know what to write. I'm confused. I don't know what to write. Okay. What is my agenda is, I want to create one object for this. Sir, a equals to 1 to 10. Otherwise, I can take vals equals to. For x in vals, print of x. For x in vals, print of x. First of all, what is a vals? Vals is an object reference. This object is of which type? Sir, it is a object is of which type? It is a class called 1 to 10. Is this a built-in class or user created class? It is a user created class. If it is a user created class, if you want to fetch the values one after another, it should be iterable object. It should be iterable. Is it iterable? No. Why? Because, can you please show me, is there any iter method here? Is there any iter method? No. So first you do one thing. Let us define iter method, dunder iter method. Now, when you call iter method, it will return. So return object of the iterator. It will return what is the responsibility of this iter method. When you call iter method, automatically it will return object. Which object? Iterator object. Which one you want to make iterator? Of our own class only. So here simply return self. So current object I want to make it as a iterator. Current object means object of this class. I want to make it as a iterator. That is the reason return self. But if you want to make it as a iterator, another protocol is, it should contain next boss. It should contain next self. So internally for loop will call next on iterator. So whenever next method is called, it should return first 1, next to 2, next to 3, next to 4, like that. For that, I do one thing. I will create one constructor for this. So constructor is, as you all know, dunder init. I will maintain one variable self dot count equals to 1. Sir, self dot count equals to 1. Self dot count equals to 1. I will create one temporary variable and I can assign that value. I can assign that value to the temporary variable. Before we are going to return that value, what is your job? I want to print only 1 to 10. So if t less than or equals to 10, sir, if t less than or equals to 10, self dot count plus equals to 1. I know definitely next method will be called automatically. When you call next method on the next time, count value should be incremented. Earlier it is a 1. When you call next method again, then automatically it should become 2. Next it should become 3. Then return that t value. Sir, what is the t? T is nothing but currently it is having 1. So t equals to 1, it will return 1. Before it is going to return 1, self dot count will become 2. I will explain. Don't worry, I will explain. Now, whenever t value is crossing the limit 10, I want to stop it. How to stop it? By raising some error called stop iteration. Sir, you are raising stop iteration. Is the for loop is capable to handle that? Yes. For loop is internally implemented in such a way that it can handle stop iteration. So observe very carefully, man. Again, I am going to explain the total story. Listen very carefully. Custom iterator. So iterator for user created class. Our execution starts from this line. Vals is an object of user created class. That is called as a custom class. So object of any user created class is not at all iterable. It is not at all iterable by default. If you want to make it as a iterable, first it should contain iter method. Now which one you want to make iterator? What is the job of iter method? What is the job? The job of iter method is it has to return something. What it has to return? Object. I am returning what? Current object. Sir, why I have to return current object? Because I want to make object of our own class as a iterator. That is the reason return self. Okay, up to this I am clear. Once if you convert your own class object as a iterator, what is the benefit? The benefit is, so this is the object of user created a class. If I use it in the for loop, I am expecting the values one after another. Generally, this behavior you can find for list objects, tuple objects, set objects, dictionary object, string object, etc. etc. Usually ilanti behavior object of the built-in classes kuntundi gaani custom classes kundadu. Object of custom classes we can't find this behavior, but here I am implementing that. So when for loop is executed, internally on the vals object one method is called iter method. Can we have iter method? Yes, we have iter method. It is going to return some object. Which object? Current object only. Which object? Current object only. Now for loop will call next method on the current object, because you returned self. Self means current object. Now, is there any next method in this class? Yes, we have. Yes, we have. So at the time of creating an object, constructor is called automatically. Count value is set to 1. Now 1 is referred by count, and also 1 is referred by temporary variable t also. Internally, Python, while executing the for loop, it will call next method. Now because of this line 1 less than 10, true only, self dot count will become 2 whenever you made any changes. So whenever you made any changes, so this count will referring to t will refer to 1 only, because for primitive data types they are immutable. Once object is created, you can't make any changes. So t will pointing to 1 and 2 is pointed by this count variable. Return 1 means what? Return 1 means what? We are going to return 1 and it is copied to the x, and x will be printed. Now automatically one more time next is called. When next is called, t is what? Sir, t is what? Self dot count. Now count is pointing to what? 2. Count is pointing to 2. 2 less than 10, true. 2 less than 10, true. Now count we are updating. Can we have any chance to make any changes to this object? No. 2 plus 1, 3 will be created, and count is referring that object. Now return t. Which value is going to be returned? 2 is going to be returned. Like this, keep on executing. When t value becomes 11, 11 less than 10 is a false. Control will come to else block. It will raise the stop iteration. For loop is implemented in such a way that it can handle stop iteration, and the total loop is terminated. So this is the way how to make iterator for custom class, right? That's all from my end.